Hypixel's got a lot of games, so I decided to do a comprehensive playthrough of at least 30 seconds on each and every one of them so I can say for sure which one is the best. Well, everyone except for these, because nobody was playing them at the time. Thanks, Hypixel. You're not missing that much. There's like 2 copies of a game that's already on the list and then soccer for some reason, I don't know. This is generally going to be listed from least to most favorite, so make sure to hit the subscribe button so you can tell me how angry you are when I don't put your favorite game on the top of the list.
What? He didn't put Hypickle Says on the top and or bottom of the list. I am so outraged.
Anyways, here's the game at the very bottom of the list.
What a shame.
What do you get when you take Bedwars and then make it bad? You get Capture the Wool. This game somehow brings together all of the things I don't like about Minecraft into one package. You got speed bridging, you got combat, you got capture the flag, all of these things I don't like, and I don't like this game. I'd rather go play Bedwars. Like, that's the only thing I can equate it to, because instead of having a bunch of groups around a map, you have 2 big teams, and they're trying to break the object that the other team has. It's just Bedwars. I can't even really say anything besides that. It's just bad. I don't like it. Hi, editing me here. You don't actually have to break a block, you just collect items that are on the ground, but I mean, I didn't even get to the other side of the map. How was I supposed to know that? Just bad game. Moving on.
I am going to spend the next 50 hours alone in solitary confinement.
Hey, Skyblock didn't make the bottom of the list. It's still garbage, though. Now, why am I, the person ranking all of the Hypixel games, putting the most popular Hypixel game at the second to the bottom of the list? Well, I'm glad you asked. That's because it's a poorly made game designed specifically for you to waste your time on getting just slightly better items than you have now. Like, I get it. I felt the urge of getting the final floor of the mining area, but also, that would have taken like 7 hours, and I could use that time to do something productive like play Cookie Clicker. And if anybody else tells me I need to research the game better so I can enjoy it, no, this isn't school. I don't want to write a paper on the server. Well, actually, I'm doing that now, so never mind. But you get what I'm saying, right? I even like watching Skyblok content on YouTube because it's got an interesting concept, but the thing is, with those videos, they cut out the hours and hours of them grinding ender pearls so they can get enough Eyes of Ender for a dragon fight. It's just not worth it to me to do it myself. Again, I made a separate video about my experience with Skyblok, so go check that out if you want to see more. And hey, if it makes you feel better, it gets a higher score than Arcade Lobby Soccer.
Oh, but it is called football on the server. Why do you say soccer?
Okay, where did you come from, and why is your accent so bad? Also, this is my video. Can you go away?
Fine. Oui, oui, baguette.
Can anybody tell me what that was? Okay, what was I saying? Skyblock? Yeah, just go play Windcraft. It's a lot better.
Reagan smash! Reagan smash!
Mega Walls was the only wall-style game that I could get to play on the server, and even then we still were missing a few people, and those people happened to be on my team. Why? How the game works is you have a little chunk of a survival world, and you're trying to get as looted as you can before the walls drop and you have to go to fight the other teams. It's pretty simple as it's mostly just survival, but there's also a few hidden items around the map. That being said, it's kind of demotivating when you spend 10 minutes getting all your gear and then immediately get killed by somebody else on the other team, which is exactly what happened to me. And I mean, yeah, maybe I should get better at the game, but also maybe the game should get better at being higher on my list.
Cheeseburger, Big Mac, Whopper.
Hypixel Says is exactly what it sounds like. Hypixel says something, and then you do what Hypixel says. The only problem I have with it is that reading the prompt takes longer than the actual task you have to do, so you end up being in last place while you're still reading. It's pretty much just a reaction speed contest, which is fine, but I don't like it. Also, I think another game on this list does the same job, but much better.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
Two-dimensional build battle, but boring. I don't like Dragon Wars. To me, it just seems like a worse version of the wire-guided pig game from party games, and it just doesn't really work well for me. I like the idea of being able to rain down dragon fireballs onto the rest of the people fighting, but to me, it's kind of confusing when you actually get the dragon. If I played more than 2 games, maybe I would understand, but who has time for that?
Hi, I'm gonna make a railgun, which is not the coil gun I made a while back. It's gonna be epic.
Quakecraft is a pretty simple game. You have a couple people on a small map, and you're trying to eliminate each other with a railgun, which, if you ask me, seems like a little bit of overkill, but whatever. This game is located in the classic lobby, so it's kinda understandable why it's pretty simple, but it doesn't get much higher on the list because of that. Also, it's kinda jarring whenever you get hit because you just immediately teleport to your next spawn location. All around, not too bad, but not very complicated.
They're going to dock your paychecks.
They can't do that. I'm a vampire. I don't get paychecks.
If there's one thing that Hypixel does well, it's having games that are easy to understand. You can start up pretty much any game and you'll have an idea of what you're doing within a couple minutes. That was not the case for me with VampireZ. Now, I started out thinking I knew what I was supposed to do, and it probably was what I was supposed to do, but as the match went on, I got more and more confused. You see, there are two teams, the survivors and the vampires. The survivors are of course trying to survive, and the vampires are trying to get all of the survivors to turn into vampires so they can win. The problem is, as a survivor, I just immediately died without doing anything, which might be intended behavior, but at the same time, there was this one guy on our team with diamond armor who I guess was the team leader, so he was special. But I'm not joking when I'm saying that it took 10 minutes of us just smacking him over and over and over, him being surrounded by zombies, him turning into other creatures and then just randomly gaining all of his health before we finally killed him and we won. Again, it's probably intended, but this game gets a confusing out of 10. Cops and Crims is literally CSGO, but worse. At least the version I played. There was like 3 different games, but there weren't any people playing the other 2, so I just went into the normal defusal mode. And you know what? This would get much higher on the list if Mineplex didn't have a very superior version on their network. I know nobody plays Mineplex anymore, but bear with me, I used to play it. Like, the mechanics were just so much better and more well polished, and it gave me some of my first content on YouTube.
Oh, I just killed somebody. Ah!
Don't watch those, please.
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
TNT Tag is basically just a giant game of hot potato. A couple people get TNT attached to their heads and they have to punch the other people to get rid of it. And at the end of the timer, the people with the TNT on their heads get blown up. This game is decent, it's not too hard to understand, and it's really fast to play. The only place I'd say it breaks down is with the final few people, where it's kind of just a random chance about whether or not you'll have the TNT at the end. Otherwise, it's a pretty decent, simple game.
I'm not full auto. It's not full auto.
That's not full auto.
This is.
Paintball Warfare. Somehow another game that Mineplex did better than Hypixel. I don't know how this keeps happening. As with normal paintball, there's 2 teams and you're trying to hit the other team with the paintballs. There are infinite respawns, paintball modifiers, and Call of Duty style kill streaks like a tactical nuke. And this game does work fine, but Mineplex's version was just so much better. It worked on a rounds-based system, encouraging a lot more strategic gameplay, plus all the different guns did different amounts of damage instead of just straight up one-shotting you. And altogether, it was just a more fun package to play versus just run out and try and hit something before you die. Plus, you could also paint the walls, so that instantly makes it better. Altogether, Hypixel's version isn't that bad, but it's definitely inferior, so it only gets a mid-tier rating. Now, I wasn't exactly sure if I should add housing to this list, but it's still listed in the menu, so I'll go over it. And this basically comes down to how good is your imagination, because it's a free building plot to do whatever you want. You can make your own games and parkour courses on there, but I'd say one of the most fun parts about this is being able to join other people's houses and trying out their parkour courses or whatever games they have. But again, it's not technically a game, so I'm not going to put it very high up.
A time-traveling ball pit.
The Hypixel Pit is less of a minigame and more of a pit. Actually, no, it's not even that. It's just basically a map where there's a bunch of people smacking each other with swords, and then if you die, you jump back in and you smack people with swords, and if you die then you won't believe this. You smack people with your swords after jumping back in. Whoa, it's so complicated. Despite my semi-sarcastic explanation of whatever that was I just said, this isn't too bad of a game and is kind of just a fun thing to do if you're bored. It's not the most nuanced thing in the world, but you can kind of just have fun jumping down and trying to PvP with random people. You can also like level up and buy things, but it just sounds like Skyblok again. Please don't remind me of that.
Among Us! Among Us!
Murder Mystery is the classic whodunit sort of game. You have a bunch of innocents, a murderer who's trying to eliminate the innocents, and a detective who's trying to protect the innocents. This game is pretty good, but I feel like it's not as good as it used to be. When it was first introduced, the murderer usually tried to be more secretive, only killing people when they were alone and drawing out the game to try and not get caught. But now it's kind of gotten to the point where the murderer just kind of runs around at full speed killing everybody, and it's not quite as fun as it used to be. Still not necessarily a bad game, but definitely not on the levels it used to be.
Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting rabbits.
Hide and seek is just how it sounds. There's two different versions of this game, with one having you hide in a group of people, and the other being just old school prop hunt. It's not the most action-packed game at times, but it can get really intense if somebody's right next to you and they don't notice you. It's a pretty good concept for a game, but not quite as good as another hide and seek related game later on the list.
Pac-Man's a bad guy?
Pixel Party is, I think, a game I used to play on the Hive before it shut down on Java Edition. Basically, you'd have a bunch of colored squares that you would stand on, and every few seconds a different color would be selected, and you had to stand on that or fall into the void. The one small change that Hypixel made to this is that it's not squares, it's just different patterns. Slowly as the game goes on, it'll go faster and faster until there's just one person left. Simple game, but it definitely works. Build Battle is superior to Pixel Painters because it's in 3D. This mode is just altogether more fun to play because you can be really creative with builds, and a lot of people I've seen just have some really good talent. Me, however, is the guy who places down one block of red wool when the prompt is, I don't know, balloon, and then either gets legendary or super poop from all the people watching. And somehow I've got myself to experience rank by doing mostly that. Good game, I enjoy. Bow Spleef is pretty fun. You have a flame bow and you're trying to shoot TNT out from under other players. There's also a couple other abilities like double jump and triple shot which make the game a little more interesting, but for how simple it is, it's a pretty good game. Also, can anybody tell me what repulsor does? I'm pretty sure you activate it with shift and it seems to shoot TNT around, but then doesn't do anything else. I don't know. Otherwise, pretty good game.
Up the floor just cracked. I believe I might fall.
TNT Run is a classic minigame adapted perfectly for the Hypixel network. Basically, whenever you stand on top of a block, just a little bit later, it will disappear. Your goal is to stay on top of the level as long as possible without falling into the void. This is a great game if you love parkour because it really tests how well you are at finding solutions to get from one place to another. The final people often have to ration out the amount of blocks they're using, and it can get really strategic at times. You can try and running on other people's blocks before they get there to knock them off, and there's also double jumps to try and help you save yourself or get to new places with more blocks. Aside from not having the original look of pressure plates on top of each of the sand blocks, it's a really good game and I like it. Hacks! Skywars is the classic island-based PvP game. You start on your own island with your own loot chests, and your goal is to either eliminate the other people or knock them off. There's also a center island with really good loot that if you're fast you can use. Overall, a solid game, but not quite the best PvP game. Yeah. Oh, he's hacking. He's hacking. Oh, okay, he's hacking.
We're watching this.
And I think this year they've all taken notice because they've been on our farms and looked at them.
Farm Hunt is objectively the better version of hide and seek. In this version, you can hide as any of the animals scattered around the map. But the difference is the hiders have a way to fight back. The hiders can try and knock the seekers away from them if they find them, or they can just straight up kill them. Also, there's a bunch of taunts you can use for free arcade lobby coins, which those are pretty fun. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of difference between this and hide and seek, but the fighting back feature definitely makes it a lot more fun. Blitz Survival Games is an amazing adaptation of Hunger Games for the Hypixel server. It takes the classic Minecraft Battle Royale game and turns it into a quick format that you can play really fast. The maps are a lot smaller, but it feels generally pretty balanced and actually makes combat more fun for me. Altogether, really good game, but it loses a couple spots because they called it Survival Games. Come on, it's called Hunger Games. Oh, get out of here! I had no way of winning that and I won it. Hole in the Wall is a simple game that I kind of like the concept to. Basically, there's a wall moving towards you and there's a hole in it, hence hole in the wall, and your goal is to replicate the pattern of that hole with the blocks in front of you. Once you finish, you can make the wall come towards you, kind of like a shape slam in Tetris, and then you can start on the next wall. Then the people who get the most correct go on to a final battle where the walls are much larger. Other than that, I don't really have anything to say. I like this game. Smash Heroes almost went on the list of games that I couldn't play, but luckily one other person was queued for a Duels match, so I was able to get in. And I'm happy to say I was pleasantly surprised. I've never really played Super Smash Bros, but I know the basic concept, and this does a pretty good job of emulating it. Who am I kidding? I have no idea how the real game works. It just was fun to play. Basically, you have a couple different abilities which you're trying to use to damage the other player so they take more knockback. Every time somebody falls off the map, they lose a life, and the person who has their lives remaining at the end wins. I ended up trying out the Hulk class, and I did quite well with it. It's kind of a shame that more people don't play it, although maybe I'm missing some big flaw with the game. I only got to play once.
You're a wizard, Harry.
For some reason, Wizards is in the TNT lobby. I mean, I guess the attacks explode or something? I mean, the Dragon Wars attacks also explode, so what's the difference? Did they just not have enough games for it? Anyways, during the game, you can choose to be one of the different wizards, and your goal is to hold as many of the 3 points on the map for as long as possible. First team to some arbitrary number of points wins. I like this game, and I usually end up going with the Wither Wizard, which has good attack and good defense. It's actually kind of surprising to see how low the player count is, because I think this is a good game. Now's the point of the video where we get to Hypixel's biggest minigame, and one that most people would probably put in their top 3, Bedwars. As far as most games go, there aren't very many that are as well made as Bedwars. Many servers have many different versions, but Hypixel has by far the most popular. The way the game works is that every person or team starts on their own island with their own bed. They also have a resource generator as well as a couple shops to buy items. There are also various other islands with more valuable resources that you have to fight the other players for. The end goal of the game is to destroy everybody else's beds, because as long as you have a bed, you can respawn. You want to be the last person standing, and even if you don't have a bed, if you're still alive, you can try and break the other team's beds and kill them. Now I could go more into the different items or different strategies, but I'll just say this. It's a good game. While you can't always trust the people next to you not to be mega sweats that instantly destroy your bed and kill you, if you get a good lobby, it can be so fun. Keyword being if. Oh, you turds. I placed a block there as he broke it. I'm dead. There's a bunch of different strategies and items that you can use to attack other people's bases, and in turn, they have certain items and perks that can repel you from breaking their bed.
I'm almost dead. There we go.
Break bed, break bread. Did you get it?
No! No!
Why did you focus that guy and not the bed?
Oh no, leave me alone. I was scared.
I'm not really the best at Bedwars, as I've said before, I'm not much for combat, but it just makes all the other combat games on the server look like something that somebody whipped up in their free time. Overall, a really great game, but the only downside is that it suffers from Hypixel's matchmaking, which is none. You could just get placed next to somebody who has literally no life. But I mean, I guess it's just how it works.
I've fallen, and I can't get up!
If you don't know what the dropper is, you probably haven't been playing Minecraft for very long. You're just trying to fall down to the water at the bottom without hitting anything. That being said, Hypixel's version is just different dropper maps where you're trying to beat it as fast as you can.
Okay, I finished the map. I finished third. What a freaking no life.
I really like this game. Next?
Whoa, 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 you shouldn't have bought that. Now Rick Grimes, will have to do something about it.
The Blocking Dead goes just about how it sounds. There's a bunch of loot chests everywhere that you can use to get supplies, but the constant threat is that there's zombies chasing you. You want to get as stacked as possible on different ways to take out the zombies, but also to heal yourself, because when I say that there's a lot of zombies at the end, there's a lot of zombies at the end. Basically, an area of the map will be selected, and all the survivors are supposed to collect there so they can make their final stand. Of course, your goal is to survive the longest and take out as many zombies as you can. Also, quick tip, save the shotgun ammo for the end game because it hits everything. Very chaotic and very fun game.
'Tis but a scratch. A scratch?
The Duels lobby is a bit of a mixed bag. There's like 15 different styles of Duels, and some of them aren't too different from each other, so I'm just gonna group them all together under Duels. That being said, there's some really fun ones in here. You've got the classic Duels that give you lots of potions, or OP armor, or just a normal set of gear that you would find in survival. And then some of the Duels just get absolutely crazy, one of which being the bridges. I'd say this is the most unique duel out of the bunch, and your goal is to go across a one-wide bridge and jump into the other player's goal without them knocking you off. While you can play all of the different duels with random people, I'd say where this really shines is playing with friends. I hadn't tried a lot of the duels before, so I got a friend on, and we just spent an hour going through all the different ones, and let me say, that was fun. We had some super funny moments, so I'll make a highlights video after this one. She just... I hate this game so much. Ender Spleef is my preferred version of Spleef on the server. Like with bow Spleef, you're trying to shoot the blocks out from under the other players, but the catch is you're an Enderman. You're shooting Ender Pearls to break the blocks, and you can teleport with a small cooldown. There's also various things that modify how your Ender Pearls fire or give you triple shot, and the maps you play on are really small and have multiple layers of thicknesses, making this a really fun game to play. This is a pretty decently fun game, and it's kind of sad that more people don't play it.
The Romans brought wool production to England in about 50 AD.
Wool Wars, not to be confused with Capture the Wool, ew gross, is a newer game to Hypixel, and it's actually pretty fun. It's kind of similar to CSGO in a way that there's two teams trying to eliminate each other, but instead of planting or defusing a bomb, your ultimate goal is to fill a 3x3 area with the color wool that you have in your inventory. It's another pretty simple game, but it works quite well and is very customizable as there's different classes you can choose. Overall, pretty entertaining, and it actually makes PvP kind of fun for me. But with that out of the way, we're finally on to my list of the top 3 Hypixel minigames. I'm fairly sure that I'm the only person who chose these 3 games as my top 3, but I'll let you be the judge of that. And also, just a quick side note, I totally missed Ultra Hardcore when I was making the list, so here's some footage. It looks like a decent PvP game with only a slightly above average amount of hackers, but I don't like PvP as much, so put it under Skywars or something, I don't know.
Creeper. Oh man.
Now with that out of the way, my third spot goes to Creeper Attack. It's kind of surprising that this game is so high up because it's the only one that made me clench my mouse so hard I got hand pain. But that being said, I love this game. There are 4 different hallways and creepers spawn to try and blow up a villager that's in the middle. Your goal is to protect the villager for as long as possible with increasing amounts of monsters spawning each round. All the monsters also drop money, so you can upgrade your armor and your weapons and get some pretty cool perks that make the game a lot more interesting. And by interesting, I mean you can get explosive arrows that you can blow up everything with, and it's really fun to use. It's not the most complicated game in the world, and it's pretty underplayed, but I really enjoy this game. I'm kind of sad that not very many people play it because I like it so much, but the same can't be said about the game in the number 2 position. At the number 2 spot, we have Zombies. Did you say open office? Ah, did you say zombie? This is basically a Minecraft version of the Call of Duty game Zombies. You're constantly getting attacked with waves of zombies coming in through the windows, and your goal is to use the money you get from them to buy items to survive as long as possible. Oh, this sounds familiar. It does bear some resemblance to Creeper Attack, but it's a lot different in terms of how you kill the zombies. All around the map are different areas that you can unlock with gold, and there are different guns that you can use to take out the zombies. You start out with a basic pistol, and you can upgrade to a rifle, a shotgun, or even a sniper. There are also a bunch of places you can get buffs from, like freezing ammo, or speed, or extra health, and there's a special chest that you can get special guns out of. As the game progresses, more and more monsters of higher and higher difficulties start spawning, so you're going to want to get some pretty good guns and then upgrade it at the upgrade machine. I can't really fully explain the game as you have to try it out for yourself to understand, but it can get nuts and very strategic, like leaving one zombie alive to help repair windows and get extra money for extra items. Oh, he's on me now. You were supposed to be babysitting
him.
Yeah,
I don't know where he went. He just disappeared.
He went to attack me. There's also a couple different maps, but Dead End is the best. It's an all-around great game and decently difficult too. And finally, for my choice of the number 1 game on the Hypixel network, we have Party Games. I absolutely love this game. Or instead of games, should I say games?
Oh, das ist ein guter Witz.
Why are you German now? Each game, the top 3 players will earn placement points, which goes to an overall total that decides who wins. Out of the 25 different games the server chooses from, there's not really one that I don't like, but I'll list a couple of my favorites. The game Minecart Racing consists of everybody getting a bow and sitting in a minecart. Your goal is to shoot the color wool that your minecart's tracks are laid on to help speed up your minecart. The more blocks you shoot, the faster you go, and if you hit other people's blocks, you slow them down. The person to the end of the track first wins. This game can get pretty chaotic as you're trying to hit a single block while you're moving at Mach everything. Another game that's pretty fun is the shooting range. Generally, I'm more of a fan of using bows versus swords, and this is basically just target practice for bows. You're trying to hit as many of the moving monsters as possible, and each one gives you points. That one's pretty simple, but another more complicated one, and one that I think a lot of people have trouble with, is pig fishing. This is basically Hungry Hungry Hippos, but with pigs and a fishing rod. Another notable one is RPG 16, which is basically a better version of the previously listed what was it called? The game was so bad I already forgot what it was. Dragon Wars, that's it. At the end of the day, this isn't going to be everybody's favorite game as everybody has different interests. If you'd like, I'd love to hear your favorites down in the comments or in the Discord server in the description. Also, click the like and subscribe button or whatever, I don't know. Actually, no, never mind, all the cool kids hit the join button. But of course, thank you for watching.